is Max Olson from The Athletic, who joins us now on the program. Max, it's been a busy time with Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC. What does that mean for the Big 12? You've been breaking a lot of news, so what's the latest with this, as BYU has been one of the 4 schools targeted, as you reported this week?
Yeah, the Big 12. I think things changed quite a bit from the Big 12 standpoint last Thursday when the Pac-12 announced that they will not be expanding at this time. And I think for any of these 8 remaining Big 12 members that were maybe holding out hope that, hey, maybe we have a home in another Power 5 league, I think Bob Bowlesby has done a good job here of sort of seizing on this opportunity to say, hey, we have the 8 of you have to come together, and we have to get focused here on the future of the Big 12, and what are the moves that you have to make to grow it and make it as strong of a football conference and basketball conference as possible. And so, the Big 12 held meetings in Dallas on Tuesday and Wednesday, and Bowlesby and the athletic directors, it sounds from every source we've talked to, have generally gotten on the same page here that the 4 targets for expansion are BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston. And, we'll see how quickly things move here, but there does seem to be, I don't want to say consensus yet, because you still have to get all the presidents on board, and we'll see if there's any holdups there. But it does seem like these are the 4 clear targets for the Big 12, and a real sense that getting back to 12 members looks like the right move for the future.
Certainly, BYU has needed a certain level of desperation, I've been saying, for the Big 12 to want to invite it. Because in 2016, we had a similar situation here. Hey, we're looking into expansion. Obviously, with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, it's very different. So the fact that BYU has been targeted among the 4 and that the timing of this has been discussed, which I want to get to in a minute as well, is interesting, because we almost skipped over the fact that, hey, the Big 12 looks like they're going to expand, period. And then who is it? And then when is it? Because before, they didn't expand at all. So they will expand. It's just who. Does that sound accurate?
At this time, yeah, that does sound accurate. And I think that you talk to some folks, even within the last few weeks, and they wondered, well, why rush this? We have up until 2025 to figure out the new TV deal. Do we have to rush into a decision on expansion and, maybe take our time? But, I think everyone in the Big 12 is also really tired of the uncertainty and tired of not knowing, what's this conference going to look like? What position are we going to be in a few years here? And so I think as has been the case for the past 5, 6, 7 weeks that this has gone on, things are moving a little bit faster than expected. I think because there is some motivation on the Big 12 side to, hey, let's be proactive this time. Let's go make some moves. And certainly these are the 4 schools that I think are pretty easy to sell to the public, that this is the best we can do in terms of adding new membership and making as compelling a conference as possible. And yeah, as you said, there's definitely a different level of desperation than there was in 2016. But, another important difference compared to last time is that Texas and Oklahoma are not dictating these decisions. They were the ones that did not want to expand in 2016. And, when the Big 12 met this week in Dallas, it was the 8 members, not all 10. They got together and figured this out. And so I think that is one hurdle in this that they don't have to deal with this time.
I'm only half kidding in this, but maybe Taysom Hill negatively affected BYU's expansion opportunities a few years ago after the Texas debacles.
Hey, I was at that game. I was at the game in Provo with the rain delay and Taysom going crazy and getting Manny Diaz fired. That was an unbelievable night.
I was producing the pregame show, and I was anticipating a 1-hour show. It quickly became 3. So yeah, that was a crazy night.
And I'm still waiting for my.
I've been stuck in some press boxes during rain delays. There are definitely worse places to be from a visual standpoint than out in Provo. There, man, it was nice, but that was a wild one.
That is a good point there. And with me, Max, I'm still waiting for reimbursement for my suit. That was,
it was destroyed.
It was destroyed. Everything about that day was destroyed. So I'm still waiting on that. But, when it comes to the Big 12 being desperate and, obviously, like you said, it's different with Oklahoma and Texas leaving, I almost feel like there should be another word for, desperation. It's almost like they need to expand and more so needing.
Motivated. Yeah.
Yeah. And needing, BYU, right, is I think everybody and analysts around the nation can say that BYU is probably the best choice. So with that being said, does BYU need the Big 12? We know the Big 12 needs BYU, but does BYU need the Big 12?
You guys can answer that better than I can. You know the history better than I do, but I think it's, I do still wonder if, another element to all this that we don't really have a great answer on at the moment is just the future of the college football playoff as well. And so, I do wonder, is there better playoff access for BYU going into this conference? I kind of think the opportunity here is great, though, for BYU and these other schools coming in, because without Texas and Oklahoma, I mean, who's kind of the top dog in the Big 12? What's the school that's going to dominate over the next decade? I don't know that there is one. So I think that you take where you're already at as a program, as we saw last year, and certainly what BYU did last year, gained a ton of respect clearly right now. But you take where you're at right now, and you with more resources and better recruiting and all that, sort of that Power 5 stage. Like, I think BYU has a chance to, as we saw very quickly for TCU and for West Virginia. It doesn't take that long to be successful in this conference either. So I wonder if that's a little bit part of it too, of just, you look at this Big 12 and why can't BYU be very successful and possibly very quickly, when they do make that move.
We're talking to Max Olson of The Athletic, just music to BYU fans' ears. All of this just sounds awesome. Okay, let's talk about, the Big 12 looks like they're going to expand. They've targeted 4 schools. One of them is BYU. Let's talk timing now. There's some reports that could happen as soon as this month. What are you hearing?
You hear a lot of different things, and I don't want to tell you, hey, here's what I would bet on. You hear people say that this could happen in a matter of weeks, that this could happen at some point, during this football season, or maybe if it takes a little longer, at least during this academic year. So I hear a lot of different messages from people about how quickly this could happen. At least on the invitation side, I think that it could potentially happen faster than people anticipated, and maybe that does happen here in the next few weeks, unless some unexpected developments emerge here. But that part of it's moving fast. In terms of when the Big 12 would be bringing new members into the conference, there's certainly still a lot of confusion and a lot of details that have to be worked out there, because you don't know when Texas and Oklahoma are leaving the Big 12. They say it's going to be summer of 2025. Could be sooner than that, certainly, if they're willing to pay the big exit fee. And so, is this the Big 12? If this 12-team Big 12, is this what it looks like in 2024, or can it happen sooner than that? I don't know, and I don't think they do either. There's still a lot to be worked through in terms of if the BYU is coming to the Big 12, what's that start date?
And it is interesting too. Obviously, BYU is divorced from the Mountain West, choosing to be single for the last decade and available to be wed. Should that be the case, the AC teams, report 27 months to get out of that. Although all things can be negotiated with the mighty dollar. So the timing of this is interesting. Do you feel like maybe the Big 12 could add 2 before they get to the other 2 at some point before 25, or does it kind of depend on Texas and Oklahoma's exit?
Yeah, I think there's, I think that there's a lot to work through there. Is it possible that BYU could come in sooner than those other 3? I suppose it is, just because you are, an FBS independent in football. And I would think if I were the commissioner of the AAC, I would want to keep those schools in my league for 27 months. And, it's way more important than when UConn tried to leave in 2019 and you were willing to let them leave in 12 months. So, I do wonder about that part of it, and just how quickly this could happen. I think that Oklahoma, Texas part of it is just a real unknown. For the past 2 months here, there's been certainly still a lot of anger and bitterness towards Texas and Oklahoma and trying to punish them and all that. Maybe this can be handled in a more seamless way now if the Big 12 does have its future figured out and they have their 12 members and they know what it's going to look like. Maybe they are willing to let Texas and Oklahoma leave sooner, or maybe this staring match continues all the way till 2025.
Max, my biggest concern with BYU going to the Big 12 and the other schools being added on is the Big 12 being able to keep their P5 status. I believe that would hurt BYU, especially when you look at the brand and the momentum that BYU has made, especially the last couple of years. And so I'm not sure, as an analyst, I don't know if we understand what makes a conference P5. I would say obviously having Texas and Oklahoma, automatically qualifies you as having a P5 conference. But with those 2 out, where does that leave the Big 12, when it comes to that perception?
Yeah, there's a couple of different angles to that. First of all, you want to be an autonomy 5 conference in the NCAA. And obviously I know that things are heading towards change, obviously, in the NCAA with this constitutional convention that they're going to have. But it's written in there that these are the 5 Autonomy 5 conferences that get to make their own decisions, and the Big 12 is one of them. So it would take I think probably a long process to remove them from that, and I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. Also, you want to maintain that Power 5 status in terms of your CFP payouts, and I don't know that is going to change either. There is optimism within the Big 12 that this is not going to be an issue, but certainly there's kind of the unwritten part of this too. There is the perception aspect of that, and is in the eyes of college football fans and administrators and all that, is the Big 12 viewed as a Power 5 league? I think adding these 4, does help a lot. I do, and I think that there seems to be pretty good optimism that it'll be viewed that way. And certainly, if you're taking 3 members away from the top group of 5 conference and weakening that conference, I think that sort of helps, sort of clarify that divide even more. That certainly, and as of today, and I know the money is going to change at some point here. But right now, I mean, Big 12 members are probably going to get about 40 million in distribution next year. And, if you're in the AAC, it's 5, 6, 7 million. So there's still a huge gap there. That gap is going to shrink as the new TV deal comes together. But I think from a perception standpoint, you get to this 12-team league. Yes, you're right. They don't have Texas and Oklahoma, but I think it will still be viewed as a very competitive conference that potentially can still have a lot of preseason top 25 type programs.
Yeah, I think it's equal to or better than the Pac-12 with those 4 additions in our, leaning that way biased opinion when it starts to come to it. Let's finish with this, Max. I assume this is all sports, right? We hadn't said that out loud, but it's not a football-only thing. It's all sports.
I don't know. I don't know the answer on that. I think certainly there are some nuances that with BYU that are a little bit different than the other 3 AAC schools. So I don't know as of today what is the preferred path in terms of, is it bringing in as a football only? Is it doing that initially and bringing it all in? Or, I guess that sort of depends on how Tom Holmoe sees this too. And just sort of what is the thing that BYU needs in this, because certainly they're in a good position right now as the top target. So I am interested to see how that piece of it develops. And how do you guys see that? Do you see that as that it has to be all sports?
No, I think BYU would take football only, but would prefer that it be all sports. Yeah. West Coast Conference is a great fit in terms of quick and easy flights out of Salt Lake everywhere for the Olympic sports. Sure. But BYU has some sports that aren't even in the West Coast Conference. They're in the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation and track and men's volleyball and whatnot. So I don't know. BYU's got 20 sports, which is a pretty big athletic department. Ideally, that fits into the Big 12. Men's hoops, by the way, would be even better than football with that new league. That would be really interesting. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with all of this.
It's funny because it seems like potentially, the invitation piece of this could happen pretty quickly, but the details of all this certainly are going to take months to work out. What is the way to sort of, not just the timetable, but just what are all the parameters of, revenue distribution and when you're bringing them in. I think there's a lot to be worked out there. Certainly, but it seems the Big 12 is pretty content right now that these are the schools they need to go after.
Right, and tertiary rights for women's soccer need to be figured out in BYU TV and what.
Absolutely,
we can figure all that out. No worries, we're going to be a great partner if that's the case with the Big 12. Well, Max, we appreciate the time. You've been busting through reports and news like Jerome Bettis back in the day, so it's been fun to watch. Thanks for the time, and I'm sure we'll be connecting in the future.
Hey, thanks so much, guys. Appreciate the time.